Hey everyone, Mr. Hughes here to go through and look at guided practice number 2. We're going to draw the sketch and we're going to utilize a revolve, so an advanced modeling feature that we have used quite a bit. We're going to revolve 270 degrees. This is the kind of shape that we should be getting, and there we go. And you can kind of see some of the sketch, so I'm going to zoom in here so that way, because this is going to be a little bit of a tricky part. We're going to use some modeling techniques that we've used in class before to kind of help us out with that. So this is going to be the sketch that we create. So I'm going to go ahead and on shape here on the left side of my screen. I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to call this guided practice 2. And once the workspace loads, I want to make sure first thing is to be able to change my units. So by clicking on the 3 bars there, workspace units are going to change over to millimeters. And I'm going to hit the green check mark. And I'm going to start a new sketch on the front plane. So with the front plane, sketch environment gets loaded. I'm going to go ahead and click on the front, and I'm going to go ahead and hide the top plane, the front, and the right work plane. So that way I can kind of see and don't have to worry about too much else going on. All right, so in this sketch, first thing I'm going to start off with is I'm going to look at, I'm going to set up some construction lines. So I'm going to draw a line, don't really know, just kind of a arbitrary length. And I'm going to escape the line. I'm going to go ahead and hit line again. So I can also press the L key on my keyboard to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and draw this kind of crossing of these 2 lines. Once I have those drawn, I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to select both lines. And then when I do that, I can right click and choose construction. So I'm going to make those construction lines. So for my, just like how they have set up here in the sketch. Now I'm going to use a little bit of I'm going to extend this line out here just a little bit more, because I'm going to draw since we're doing a revolve, we're only going to draw half the profile. And even then, I'm only going to draw a quarter of it, and we're going to mirror this part over on the bottom. So I'm going to draw this piece right here, and then that way we don't have to do as much in our sketch environment. So utilizing the line tool, I'm going to start over here, a little bit of a length, come up, come over, and just start kind of drawing in this shape, just like how I see there in the sketch. And that's really all we're going to draw. Now, this is the part where I'm going to go ahead and run the dimension tool. I'm going to start off with getting some of these details down here at the bottom. So from this center line to this line here, the thing is there's no kind of setup for having the kind of dimension that's being shown, but here's what we can do. So I'm going to kind of go down below here, and since that says 30, I'm going to do 30 divided by 2, so that way it kind of brings in the sketch there. So let me drag that dimension up just a little bit closer. There we go. As you zoom out, it's going to be a little harder to see some of those dimensions. So, but this is going to go through and get some of that going. Okay, running my dimension tool again, I'm going to go ahead and go from this line over to here. I'm going to drag that down. This is going to be 45 divided by 2. As I go from this line out to the next point, which would be over here, 58 divided by 2. From here to this inside edge, 128 divided by 2. And then from here to the very outside part of this will end up being 138 divided by 2. And that will kind of help out there. All right, so still some blue lines, means we got a little bit of work to do, some dimensions. So that's some of these interior dimensions here. If I start kind of from the left to right here, from the top to the other side, so if I use the center line, so this is going to end up being 20, since that says 40 tall. Some of the sketch geometry, very similar to Inventor, I'm going to escape the dimension, may kind of move on you. So you can kind of click and drag those into place. But same kind of thing, run the dimension tool. So this height here is going to be 8. The height on this inside one will be 4. And even then, like I said, if you're zoomed out, you can't see it. If you zoom in, you can see it a little bit better. Uh, Again, here's my issue. Is you can kind of see there we go. Sometimes my sketch lines kind of move on me as I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit very much like Inventor. So I'm going to choose the height of this line. And this is going to end up being 2.5 because 2.5. So that way that's kind of being put out to there. As we see here, from this point to this line, this is going to be 4. The height of this will end up being 25. And from this line to here is going to be 45 divided by 2. And it looks like some other pieces, the width of this line, so if I drag that up, it's going to be 6. And it looks like from here to here, this is going to be 10. So you can see I'm kind of systematically getting rid of those blue lines. And then the next thing I need to do is, this was going to require a geometric constraint, which we're kind of talked about. We're going to run a parallel between this line and this line. And that's going to go through and shift that over so that way that we're running there. All right, so once I escape that, I'm going to go ahead and go. Now this instruction kind of goes through and says we're going to do 270-degree revolution, and then we're going to do a wireframe with visible edges. So I'm going to go ahead and go full screen on this. So here's our sketch that we created. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the mirror command. So the mirror command is up here. The first thing it says is select the mirror line. I'm going to select this horizontal mirror line, and it says select the entities to be mirrored. So I'm going to click and drag and encompass all the lines there that I just drew. And then once I do that, it's going to mirror them over, and there's our rest of our profile. So now what I can do is I can hit the green check mark. I'm going to go ahead and put this into isometric view by right-clicking and choosing isometric. And I'm going to go to the Revolve command. So the Revolve command, when it pulls up, it's looking for faces and sketch regions to revolve. I'm going to choose the sketch, and then it's looking for a revolve axis. So I got to click actually on there so that way that turns blue, and then that way I can go over and choose this axis right here. So that will go through and revolve that entire sketch around, making this kind of shape. Now here it says a full, or I could go through and go one direction, and it gives me an option to do what kind of revolve angle. So we wanted 270, and in order to see the preview, I got to click out of the box, and there you're going to see that case there. If I want to go in the opposite direction, there's what it looks like to match the image on our guided practice, and I can go ahead and hit the green check mark. So there's our revolved component. If we want to change the appearance, this is underneath this little cube here, and we can go through and say, you know, we could always go through and change that. Looks like they don't have a wireframe option. Not a huge deal. There's hidden lines, hidden edges removed, hidden edges visible. You can kind of see, this is just where you can see that. They don't have that particular setting. This was actually taken from Inventor, so this model. And that's kind of why that you're seeing those types of things as you go along. So this finishes up guided practice model number 2, and check out the next video for number 3.